Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session of SQUASHfit brought to you by England Squash. This is the series to get you back on court so that you can really thrive and enjoy being back on the court and playing the best squash of your life. Well, we've been using all of our expertise and all of our resources to help you to come back, to help you with managing your body and reduce the injury of risks. You're bound to be slightly sore when you've not been doing too much, and hopefully you've been following along and using the sessions. We've had some incredible guests so far. We've had all of our experts. We've had the likes of Nick Matthew, Laura Massaro, Tanya Bailey, Paul Carter, Josh Taylor. There's been a real list of experts, so it really has been great. There are, of course, nutritional tips that you can find on the SQUASHfit hub, so make sure you check them out. Ollie Turner has been busy putting them up, and they're always really good and tasty, so make sure you go there as well. I've been guiding you right the way through from home onto the court, and hopefully you're pretty much thriving and enjoying it. All the sessions are live twice per week. We've only got 2 more to go this evening, and then another one on a Thursday, both at 6 o'clock, and will last about 6:45, well, till about 6:45, so 45 minutes. If you've missed any sessions, you can always visit the SQUASHfit hub, and they're on demand there, so you can catch up anything that you've missed, and also any session that you found particularly useful and want to repeat a few more times. You can do all that via the SQUASHfit hub. So hopefully you've enjoyed it so far, and you can make the most of the on-demand sessions. This evening, we're going to have a look at solo again, and we're going to have a slightly different take on it. We're going to very much look at it from a technical and an awareness sort of perspective, rather than just grooving the shot. So we're going to get a really good, deep insight into the mindset of two people who really think very intelligently about the game and love to have those options. We've got the national coach, David Campion, who in his time was one of the most skillful players on the court. The body let him down a little bit, but he still achieved some great things with the racket and the accuracy that he has, which he's taken into his coaching. And one of the leading contenders on the PSA World Tour, Sarah-Jane Perry. She's already achieved so much. There's so much more to come. She's one of the most skillful players on the PSA World Tour. She's currently number 6 in the world. She's been as high as number 5. She won a major platinum event at the Black Ball Open back in December, and she's a real force to be reckoned with on the tour. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Camps, who's going to introduce the session. Over to you, Camps.
Thank you, Lee, and welcome everybody. It's great to be here at Kenilworth Squash Club with Sarah-Jane Perry, as you said, one of the world's leading players right now. And this session is quite fitting to have Sarah-Jane with me, because she's going to demonstrate this with technical perfection. No doubt, I've got no doubts on that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's literally, as you said, it's not a solo practice that you would necessarily do with a set number of shots, counting shots and so on, where I personally think there's a place for that, but it's more about setting up scenarios in the court, so it's quite dynamic. We've seen a lot of ghosting and solo hitting and ghosting and so on through the boot camp, through the 5 weeks. This is more about putting it together and working on the kind of ball accuracy aspects, but with the cognitive kind of decision-making skills, so shot selection. So SJ, is going to show brilliantly how you can not only control the ball with accuracy, but then pick out the right shot at the right time. And it's about making the court long. And there's technical things that needs to happen in order to do that. So yeah, primarily I was going to just start with asking SJ just to talk about this concept a little bit, this playing options. And it is a philosophy. Just tell us a little bit about why it's important.
I think for me, it's a fundamental part of my game, but I think it's something that everyone can use, whether you think it is a strength of yours or not. If it's not, then it's definitely something that is worth trying to add as a string to your bow. And it can be really simple, yet have really sort of devastating effects against pretty much all opponents. the main thing I'm trying to do a lot of the time is actually give myself the options, and by doing that, I'm able to then stop my opponent's movement. And as many of you will know, there's always that someone that you play that stops and holds and things like that, and actually stopping and starting again is generally a lot more difficult on the body than being in a rhythm and being very rhythmical. And you're trying to break up somebody's rhythm by doing that. Hopefully they've got to cover too many places on the court and they end up guessing, and then you can hit the ball somewhere else. That's the ideal. So that's the immediate reward, but also for the longer reward throughout the actual match, it's like I said, it's physically harder. You stop to start again every time, and then that builds up over the course of the match. So I've won a lot of matches over the years because my opponent in the fourth, fifth game, the accumulation of that, then they can either hit a wall or just go down physically, and then actually I'm still feeling good, and you get the rewards for that eventually. So it's one of those things that actually you can get an immediate reward, but it's the overall reward that you can get towards the end of games matches as well.
Yeah, and this technique comes through. It's a kind of, we talk about its neutral setup. So it's having the racket prep in an area that allows both short and long, and then the changes happen through the impact. So if you're going short, you just play short, and if you're going long, you just accelerate through and release. And some technical things in there, but let's get into the hitting. And I can, as Sarah Jane is hitting the ball, we can then look at the technical aspects, and I can go through that.
Just before you go, Camps, I just we just had a question came in from Sammy Johnson, just asking about the follow through in particular. They were saying that is there any particular place or position where the follow through has to get to? And they use Nick Matthew as an example of someone where it's very clear where the extension is. And it's just interesting to get your take on it in terms of what you think about with the follow through, both of you.
Yeah, it just needs to go through the line of the ball and not deviate, through the line of the ball, getting good extension. So it's getting the release of the wrist and the fingers, and that'll take it through and get that extra little bit of snap. What you find is a lot of players just hold on too much with the grip. There's too much grip tension. And, essentially the swing is a throwing action. You throw a ball with the ball in your fingers. You don't grab all of it with your palm of your hand. So it's very important to get that full release, and that'll give you that racket head speed that you need. So someone like SJ, when she's playing a drop or a drive, everything looks identical. And you see this in the exercises that we do. The practices are designed to show this off, and you'll see that the only changes are in the follow through.
Yeah.
And the follow through is crucial to the success of it.
I think to note as well, it's really important to note that even on the drop, I see, you see a lot of players stop as they hit the drop, but actually it's having that confidence to still hit through the ball. And by hitting through the ball, you actually get a much better line on the ball. So for me, the thing I'm trying to do when I'm getting the drops in, as you'll see, is I'm trying to get them in quickly rather than softly. I think that makes a huge difference for the confidence to actually play it as well.
Yeah.
Something that I think is a problem amongst a lot of players. So I think that's just a really important point to note there.
Yeah. So what I'll get on to Lee is SJ is just going to do some basic practices just to warm up and get herself controlling the ball, the actual simple techniques, and then we'll move into the option things. Okay, so SJ, do you want to just warm the ball up with the volley itself? Right, so we're going to do a simple exercise here. We're going to do 6 plays in the box. So forehand.
So it's interesting immediately to see just how Sarah Jane Perry's getting that racket up. And there's almost a pause at the top of every swing. So she's not necessarily going with the pace of the ball. She's overtaking the ball and she's snapping the racket preparation and the arm into position, which is then giving her that ability to really hit through and have those options and the time and quality and late decisions. So it's noticeable even just in SJ warming the ball up. I mean, this is just a very good ball control exercise here from Camps and Sarah Jane Perry, and you can see just how sort of the preparation is ready, and it controls the ball using the strings, and then from there switching sides with it. Just having a couple of technical issues with Camps's sound, but immediately again on the backhand side, Sarah Jane Perry snapping the racket ready. She's got herself in a good position, and then from there is able to switch it from side to side. Hopefully Camps will be back with us in a second. So now Sarah Jane Perry's up on the volley, and again you can just see the same kind of elements of what she's doing. The racket's ready, she's hitting through it. You can see that she's really got that control, the ball control through the strings, and she's just in a position every single time. Hi Camps, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, thanks Josh. A few technical issues there. Okay, yeah, onto the backhand side. So yeah, I could hear you there, Lee. And as you're saying, it's just allowing that setup, which we know that if she wanted to take a drop in, even though she's not right now, she could do. But more importantly, it's just high, deep volleys. It's a very good basic ball control exercise to do. Still got me, Lee?
Yeah, clear as a whistle, Camps.
Yeah, nice one.
I think you can already see, can't you, Camps? You can see the setup and the use of the strings on the shot. So even though SJ is choosing to punch the ball long, you can see by the angle of the strings, she only needs to adjust and adapt the hand in the shot, and that will allow her to take the short ball in as well as have all the other options.
Yeah. Okay, onto the forehand SJ, and we're going to hit some straight drives off the back wall. And then what we're going to see here is SJ's got an option of either taking it in with a long drop, or she can play a 2-all boast, an attacking boast. So a variety of lengths going in. Use different heights, different paces, but the shape is going to allow a drop, a short ball, or a deep ball. And with the third option, you can turn it into the side wall for an attacking boast. And all the time here, what you're seeing is that there's a real threat from the way she's setting up. And as long as you've got two options, then that becomes a partnership, becomes a threat.
How important is the pause as well, Camps, before the ball actually arrives to SJ?
Yeah, what you're seeing is that just SJ takes the ball to the top of the swing. It's just coming in nice and quiet, not heaving from the top. Yeah, she needs to allow the feeling that she could take a drop in at any point. And if you swing too heavy from the top, then you're going to take away that ability to do that. So it's very important that when you set up, that you you've got that little bit of quiet time, that little bit of hang time, and then the rest of it is in the follow through.
And then, of course,
Okay,
if you've got that quiet time at the top camps, it means you're holding and stopping the opponent as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, if, at the top of the swing, if SJ's pausing, like she talked about earlier, then her opponent has to stop. And that's the whole idea, the philosophy behind this, is that you take the opponent's movement away. Yeah, it's having good ball control, but at the same time, it's masking your intentions. Hiding those visual clues, which then gives you the ability to make a late decision. And it's a big philosophy of ours at England Squash. Within the junior program now, we look at what the top guys are doing, both men and women. Shabini, SJ, someone like Almir Shabana was an absolute master of this sort of thing. And the more subtle it is, the better. And anybody can practice this as long as you can play a drop and a drive. As soon as you're able to do that, there's no reason why you can't come into every shot thinking about both options.
I think that's where you can really hurt opponents as well, isn't it? We know the hardest movements or the longest distance on a squash court is the length of it. People can move left and right very easily, but actually to be moving forwards and backwards. And if you've always got to cover front and back every time an opponent goes in, it's a nightmare, isn't it, when you play against that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's really important to have that, the grip tension, the grip needs to be right. You don't want to be holding the racket, the grip too tightly. Just a nice, even tension that allows, you're able to snap the hands through. A lot of this is in follow through. Yeah, yes, and the setup is neutral, but the real success of this is in the release.
And I guess the better you get,
just let this running for a couple more.
The better you get at this, Camps, the faster the racket head goes through the ball. So when you watch SJ taking the ball in short, she's still getting an incredibly fast racket head through the ball, and the ball gets there really quickly, but stays short, doesn't it?
Just one or two short ones, SJ, like half court, shorter drives. So with this, she's playing straight long drives or something into the service box area, so she can then move up and play from a kind of central position. So practicing both. And all the time she's shaping for either. She's shaping to go short, she's shaping to go long. It should look pretty identical, really. And the difference is, as we've said, is in the acceleration through the impacts area. Okay, inside SJ, a few more on the forehand.
How important would you say the sort of the adaptability through the hand and the racket face to be able to really cut the string sort of late on where that shot changes is? So being able to adapt your hands. You said about the softness.
Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, if you look here, there's no tension in the swing, it's relaxed. It's just in a fairly neutral area. And then she takes that ball in. There's a real softness to it, even though she's going quite quickly with quite a bit of cut there. You can see in her hands, there's plenty of relaxation in the grip. That allows you to snap the hands through and get that extension and release. And that's the people that's the sort of shot that when you see the top guys, they'll kind of show one shot and hit another, and it's not deception, it's just part of the swing, it's part of their technique. The game is about precision, it is about accuracy, but it's also about trying to take your opponent's movement away, make it very difficult, like SJ said. Okay, SJ, do you want to go on to the boast on the back, like a high boast? So she's now going to boast this around, and then from the front, she can hit either drop or drive, maybe a few drives to start with. Okay, so alternate sides. Okay, so just got a little bit close to that, hit underneath it. You want to be hitting down. We'll put some targets on the court. We've got the back wall targets where you're looking to try and get the second bounce dead, like that. Okay, so what you're going to be seeing here is SJ just come into the shot. Nice early setup with a space, and that allows you then to transfer in. Okay, SJ, now start to bring in some drops. So she can then decide whether she's going to play a straight drop or a straight drive lead. These sorts of things you can do with a partner. You can feed each other. You know, you can. It doesn't have to be in a solo exercise, but you know, this, for the purpose of this session, it just highlights how a solo can be. It doesn't have to be just a let's practice 20 drops, let's practice 20 drivers. Yeah, it's about putting those technical thoughts in there with the decision makers.
Like you say, Camps, it's a mindset thing. It's a philosophy, isn't it? You should be thinking this every time you go on a squash court and thinking about your options, thinking about your threat. One swing that leads to numerous shots and the ability to have those options and late decisions. Yeah, and if you look there, nice bit of space between the elbow. Nothing too big. It's not in too tight. It's just in an area where it's very easy to throw. And all the changes are happening around the impact area. So as long as you've got that space and you've got some room to transfer and move in, you know, good footwork. That's a big thing that Sarah Jane's really worked on is her footwork and her body positioning. You know, her and her coach Robert Owen have done a lot of good work on that, and that allows the fruition of what you're seeing right now. That, you know, the technical aspects coming in, it allows that. Okay, a few more, SJ. Okay, so as you can see, it's slow in and then it's fast out for the drives. Slow in and then, okay, so she's looking for the accuracy and she's looking to take control of the person behind her. And you can practice this from different areas of the court. We've just seen a little bit at the back, a little bit at the front as we see now. Yeah, and I think putting the drop and the drive together, it keeps the ball warm as well. It's quite an important thing, so you're not always having to re-warm the ball up after the drops. It's good, SJ. Okay. Right, let's go into, if you feed yourself from this kind of area on the forehand, and then again, you can take it in. Let's go in with like that quick kind of stun semi-drop ball that you like to play. Okay, so it's going to go in quite quickly. It's a shot that SJ would play, you know, around the middle of the court. If the opponent leaves it loose, she'll look to take this on. Yeah, it's quite an attacking shot. But again, yeah, that option there to play long is evident. Okay, throwing a few drives as well, SJ, from there. Okay, sharp. And obviously, it's important to stress, isn't it, that this isn't something that you get immediately. You can't come in and hit the ball like Sarah Jane Perry's hitting the ball right now. But if you come in with the philosophy and the mindset, and you know what you're trying to achieve, you'll start to get this, won't you, Camps? If you just start nice and simply and talk about those sort of fundamentals and basics that you've been describing, then that's gonna build, and you can start to speed it up once you get those basics. Yeah, I mean, look, all the best players in any sport, they all do the basics brilliantly, and that's what fundamentally, you know, any high level sport is about having good, sound, basic technique that allows, you know, it's repeatable. It's not going to break down. It allows you to attack. It gives you confidence. Yeah, the hitting here, as you've seen, the hitting, it's not just coming through the racket. There's a lot of footwork movement going on. SJ's readjusting all the time. She's not fixed to one spot. So she's just giving herself the best possible chance to make that shot how she wants it. Okay, other side, SJ, it's the backhand. So again, there's no need to warm the ball up. You're going short, going long. You partner in the two areas together, and you can start to add in, you know, third option. SJ likes to, you know, particularly in the front areas of the court, she'll show the drop, she'll show the straight drive, and then she might even rip it out. And
one of the hardest movements to do is to come from, say, the back left, from charging up, have to stop because the opponent's put a little pause in the swing at the top, and then be sent back to where they've just come from. Yeah, that's a really difficult movement to do, and huge energy cost. It's that accumulation of pressure that hurts people, not just the outright winner.
How important is the threat of the body position when you come into a shot like this? Was just watching SJ there, Camps, and she's really dropping the shoulder and almost attacking into the ball.
Yeah, there's a lot of engagement between, if you look at the connection between the lower half and the top half, and it's not just the hitting, it's not the arm, it's not just the shoulder, it's coming through to her feet, footwork. Nice little bit of give in the knees. She's dropping in. Good rotation in her shoulder and her hips, trunk area. So there's a lot of moving parts going on, but it's all in order. It's biomechanically, it looks very neat and tidy. It's all weight transfer. One thing to remember as well, we talk a lot with the players, about core stability, and here, when you're hitting the ball, everything passes through the core area. Other side, SJ, do you want to mix it up, both sides? So she'll just kind of go into a bit of a random feed now from the centre of the court. A few on the volley as well, SJ. Just feed yourself up. A few on the volley, take it in. Maybe one or two ripped out, cross court as well.
So this is quite expressive with lots of options then, Camps, rather than sort of rigid numbers and sort of very disciplined solo that you might see on other occasions.
And I think there's room for both. But what we're practicing here is a bit more of a theme of it's rally context. It's very real, sort of thing that you would, if you look into there, we talk about shape. Look how SJ is getting into her right side on that forehand. She's on the right leg. She drops in, and that allows her then to give her that kick out, that transfer out, that kind of suspension that something like Ali Flagg talks about. So the force, the power and the head speed is coming not just through the arm, but through its whole body. If you get too close and too narrow, you can't do that. So it's really important. Someone like SJ has really improved that, where she's a position and a footwork. She's actually into her legs a lot more, into her body a lot more with her hitting. But yeah, I'll just come back. We talk about that with the juniors a lot of that, just about the core area and how it's important to have that nice and strong.
Yeah, it connects everything up and it adds that stability and balance.
Passing. Yeah. It's good, SJ. Okay, a few more.
There's another question coming, Camps, and it's just around, is there a particular area that SJ is looking to strike the ball on the strings of the racket? Is there a sweet spot she's looking for? Is she looking to get as many strings on the ball as possible? Or is there a particular focal point?
Yeah, I think it depends. I think if you're playing it late, sometimes she'll allow the ball to come through and she'll come round it a little bit more. SJ, do you want to take one or two out in front as well? Particularly on the forehand side, if you just feed it across and then early on the volley drop. Okay, so out in front a little bit. I think the ones that come through a little bit later, you can come round, you can get your fingers and wrists around the racket and just come round the string come round it a little bit more with the strings. Or if you're taking it out in front, it's like Nick Matthew was very good at that, where you're taking the ball out in front and you're trying to hurt people with time. But yeah, I think it depends on your impact point, really. But you've always got to look to, engage the strings. It's like driving a car. You don't go around a bend in neutral. You drop it into second. You bite the engine, and that controls it. And it's the same with the swing. If you're coming in a little bit flat, the ball will just take off, and you can't control it. So it's really using the strings and opening the face out to do that.
Yeah, I guess SJ spoke about it, didn't she? About the fact that some people block their drop shots in where they stop the follow through, and it's because the strings aren't right. If you don't get the cut on it, you can't follow through, can you? Because otherwise it does what you've just described.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at here now, she's just starting to freestyle a little bit. Yeah, if you just want to just go a bit more random with it, SJ, now, just pick it all out, express yourself. So what you're going to see here, she'll start to put in different shots, cross-court drops from different positions, some a little bit deeper, some on the bounce, some on the volley. And all the time, she's thinking about at least 2 areas of the court, if not more. And if anything, with Sarah Jane, she's probably got too many options at times. She can, you know, get into, you've seen those matches where she can get into a little bit of a muddle with it. And, you know, it's just about simplifying it. Simple technique that allows the delivery. A nice technique. You can see, like, just on the follow through, how the racket face, the leading edge is coming through. It's staying up. You can see the leading edge. So there's no closing over with the racket.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a great way to sort of describe it, isn't it? Get the leading edge on it, and that really does open the racket face. And then you could just see from those angles just how SJ was doing that, and it was leaving the ball incredibly short. But then also, if she just extended through that and snapped the hand through it, then goes long. So there's all the options straight away.
Yeah, SJ, just go back into the high boast, and I want you to play a straight drop or rip it out cross. So this is an area where SJ excels. Yeah, many scenarios in a match where she's in this position, she's earned the right, she's in the front areas, and she'll partner up just a simple straight drop or cross-court drive. The opposition, they have to cover the drop because they know she can play it. But then, you know, as they charge up, quite often what SJ will do is she'll sense them charging up. And then just as they arrive at the tee and they have to stop, she'll just rip it back out again. And that, you know, like SJ said, it's huge energy cost on the body, huge energy cost. So you're still having to come up to the tee and stop and move again. It's a real difficult thing to do over and over.
Well, the amount of times, Camps, I've seen players overcommit against Sarah Jane Perry and try to cover one shot that she's hit before, and then she just hits the other option, and the awareness is very good, and it's something that's improved massively in recent times, but she just picks the right shot so often now.
Yeah. If you just look at that early prep, feet in place, holds off, and then in and just snaps it through. And you know, this isn't about counting shots and doing numbers. It's purely about, you know, the kind of shot selection, the accuracy, you know, married together. I think a lot of practice should be that way. You know, the game is about making decisions, and you need to practice that way. You need to practice not just being accurate, but playing the right shot at the right time. And if the technique doesn't allow that, you know, if the technique doesn't allow what you've seen here, you know, what is it about it? Examine it. I mean, solo is a really good time to, you know, to spend time looking at this, getting technique right, looking at what's working, what isn't. You always need, you know, the coach behind you to tell you everything. It's about getting on court and working things out. And so just some simple things that are going on. Last few, SJ, just some simple things that you're seeing. SJ's looking to make the court long. She's looking to hit down the ball. She wants to make her opponent hit up on the ball, which then allows her to attack. So when a length pops up like that, she'll make her adjustments. She won't always be happy with it, but she'll make the adjustments. And it's just having those good fundamental technical aspects in your swing that you have to think about. You have to really think about and examine.
Yeah, and this is the perfect time, isn't it, Camps, where you can just strip back your technique and you can slow it all right down. So you can actually just get it very simple and very easy at first. And then as long as you've got those fundamentals in place, you can then start to speed it up and start to do it more towards where SJ's at now.
Yeah, and you can see there she's just starting to really express here, and different shots, lots of variety on the cross court. Yeah, paying attention to a position all the time. Yeah, it's very technical, but it looks very simple as well. Equally, it looks very simple. Good technique is about being simple. Okay, so we're just going to do a couple of like hand-eye skills around the front. Again, it's something that's someone like SJ, you're working on these options, but if SJ just goes into that, she'll do a lot of things like this around the front wall, which is very good for adaptation in the like manipulating the racket. So it's just looking at the different ways that you can improve your skills. So going from left to right here, she's in her hands. Nice, easy grip tension.
And again, Sarah Jane Perry's just going with the flow, isn't she? So she's not sticking to a rigid sort of routine. She's gone one side for a few, then the other side, then switching side to side, and it's really all about that adaptability. Some on the volley, some off the bounce.
Yeah, exactly, Lee. Look, she's there. Look, she's just switching it around a little bit. She might do a few volleys just off the front wall, just quickly to herself, forehand and backhand. Below the cut line, just not a bit like a condition game, but you're doing it within a solo, and it's all these exercises are very good to improve your skills, and without sound technique, it's very difficult to perform these.
I guess the other thing, Camps, is you can practice these at any point, and if you throw these little skills in, these little practices, even if you're only at the club a few minutes before, so 10 minutes before, and there's a spare court or anything like that, it's all going to add up and make a difference. And if you're thinking of the philosophy and the mindset as you've described, then it's going to help your game massively, isn't it, moving forwards?
Yeah, and look, today it's just a little flavour of what you can do. There's many things in addition to this. But yeah, SJ, do you want to just come in and we'll just kind of round up maybe with some things. So
yeah, can you hear us, Lee?
Yep, you're all good. You're going to let SJ catch her breath back.
Yeah,
I am sweating. This one, it's not just a walk around the court like Camps has said. It's actually gonna replicate some of the stuff you're gonna actually be doing when you go and play some rallies again, rather than just someone hitting the ball back to you.
How much have you done? How much solo would you do, SJ, on a typical week? And is it something that's always formed a very important part of your game as a very skillful player?
Yeah, of course, it's absolutely a vital part of how I've got to here and moving forwards. I think the first step of any improvement is practicing something in isolation, which gives you and solo gives you that best chance of doing that. So, and then you're in full control. So actually you can then control how much pressure you're under or practice a certain situation, things like that, much better to start with than in any sort of drill or anything. So I think it's really important, and definitely, I like to use a lot of angles, and a lot of those were developed in solo practice over the years as well. My sort of thing that I like is that you can't understand any shot until you've actually played it, and solo is perfect for trying to work out different ways to get the ball into the same corner, the same area, and actually get the ball moving away as well. I think Nick and DP talk about this sort of sixth corners, and those ones in the middle at the sides are ones that aren't used, and we're trying to show a few ways to actually use those there, both on the bounce and on the volley. And it's how to get confident in actually starting to use those areas. Is starting with a solo practice and then bringing it into drills and match play. But I think it's a good foundation to start with for sure.
Yeah, and just sort of thinking about that. So once you're developing those skills, and Cam or SJ, you can answer this, but how do you then start to use those spaces? So once you've established that base, how do you then start to put that into your match play in terms of being aware of what spaces to hit and how to hit them?
I think for me, it's about understanding why you would play that shot. How to play it, but then why, and then when. And for me, the best way to work out when is to play it and see if it works. If you can't see how a scenario is going to play out better than actually doing it. So that's where you've got those, if you've got any friendly matches or anything, you've got to keep working on things and putting them into your match and seeing how they go is kind of the best way to do that. But getting confident doing them is to build drills around them as well. So if you know why and when you want to play a shot, you can develop. You can have a routine that puts that in and gives you that option, the two options in a certain position. So if I'm working on playing a drop more, a lot of those are going to be off boast. So actually, a drive as simple as boast drive, two shot boast drive, sorry. So where the person at the back hits boast, I hit a drop, then hit it deep again. The person at the back hits himself a drive, and then hits another boast. And you're giving yourself that less pressure situation, but you're still going to be under some pressure, depending on who's the person at the back boasting. So if you're able to then practice that, so then when it actually comes to a match, you've done it lots of times before, you've built up that muscle memory, you've built up those connections in your brain, and then actually you're not having to think about it as much in a game. So it's trying to get those steps and get that pathway up to being able to do it without thinking. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, so you're trying to get it from practice into your match play, and sort of that's your sort of stepping stones to get it to that point where it becomes a bit more automatic, and you can actually start to see it transitioning, and you can express yourself in the matches then as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to, when you break down the technique, you need that time to really break it down and practice it, but you also need to put it into rally context. So it's very important that you bring in that decision making, and something like what SJ's been through today and demonstrated really well is that you can practice technical aspects, but within a solo there where it's quite dynamic, there's lots of options, and at the end you saw SJ put in all sorts of different angles in, across the face of the front wall, into the nick, the straight drops, long, short, ripping it out cross court. You could add in the lift, go back and pick it up, and it keeps you mobile, and it keeps you keeps the ball warm, so you don't have to keep stopping and warming the ball up again, so you get a lot more from it.
I think it makes it very real as well, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden we saw there the whole time SJ's moving onto a ball, she's getting a body weight into the shot, and then playing the different options and the different shots. I think there's that realism as well in there.
Yeah, no, look, anybody can do this. This is why we went through this today, and just because Sarah Jane is a top player, and this kind of theme and philosophy is as long as you can play a drop and a drive, you can work on this sort of stuff. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, we wouldn't be very good at it. I wouldn't anyway if it was rocket science, that's for sure. Do you reckon, would there be any other last sort of tips that you'd want to share just before we finish off? Is there anything that you would like to reiterate or sort of highlight as the most important things, or any extra bits?
I think SJ, from a player's perspective, Absolutely,
I think for me, solo practice is important, and it gives me that outlet to have that sort of unlimited creativity, just allow myself to do that. And I think it's important not to get too caught up on trying to hit perfect shots, and actually it's trying to develop your technique try and develop different shots. So for me, I'm always trying to work on seeing how straight I can get my swing, so I can hit tight balls consistently, but then also then that feeds into what Cam was talking about before, about the simplicity of the swing. So it's a bit counterintuitive, because actually the options come from the simplicity, and that allows the options to be possible from the same swing. Excited to go and solo practice and work on that and improve that. So I'm not going to be fussed if I hit 100 errors in that 45 minutes. But actually, I felt like I got a really good, I'm trying to work on that really good balance between hitting short and long, and having those keeping people guessing, so you're not able to really which is a big thing for my game. So just find that thing that we work on, and don't get too heads up with the rest of it. You've got to work on one thing at a time. I think that's one of the main points I'd say. And the other is to set yourself up that creativity. I've said that 10 times now. You don't know if the shot's going to work until you play it. So let yourself, at least in the last 5 minutes or something, give yourself that freedom. And that freedom does come up from the gospel hit sometimes. It is very much, you don't want to be able to practice it. So also, everyone loves to practice it. So don't expect to practice it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. When it goes up there, if you haven't got the muscle to go and get it, then you've got to find it somewhere, and that somewhere's in the solo practice.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you can, when you see Sarah Jane Perry playing, there's that expressive nature in there. There's a lot of creativity, and you see those shots coming in, and you can clearly see you're being inventive and how important solo is to you. Camps, any final thoughts from you before we go?
No, just like SJ said, I think just get on and express yourself and have a bit of fun with this. It's probably more, for me, it's a more interesting way to practice. The game is about precision. It's about hitting a corner, but equally it's about you playing against somebody, and it's about choosing the right space. So the kind of cognitive decision making with the technical aspects of ball control and accuracy, is crucial. So try and put the two together, because that's what the game's about. The best players, the most successful players in any sport, really, it's about having really good technique, but making great decisions. The right shot at the right time. And a solo practice is a great way of start. It's a great way to start. Well, not just to start, but just a great way to practice it. You haven't got the pressure of somebody trying to beat you, or the pace of the game or the intensity. It's just you and the ball, and it's a really good time, a really good way to spend time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, guys. I mean, it's great to get the insights from two of the sort of the most creative and technical minds at the very top of the game that we love. So that really is a good session to go and practice, and so many sort of takeaway points there. So thank you very much, both of you. That's pretty much all we've got time for here this evening. We've got one more session coming up on Thursday at 6 o'clock. Of course, you can sign up for that via the SQUASHfit Hub, so make sure you go there. If you want to see this session again, you can also do that on demand, and you can just go through it and practice what Camps and SJ have been talking about. But for now, that's all from myself, from Sarah Jane Perry, and from David Campion. We hope you've really enjoyed this session, and we look forward to you joining us again on England SQUASHfit very soon.